Alexander to give us an update on the situation and to have a broader discussion on domestic abuse in Trinidad and Tobago. Ms. Alexander, always a pleasure.
Yes, Sheldon,
indeed.
always a pleasure.
And I don't want to say much, we just received from very enlightening news that God is truly smiling on this young woman. And, you know, something may actually be worked out in this situation where she may not be charged for the incident. And, you know, in whatever role that the husband may play, and of course, in allowing this, allowing for, let's just say, to God to intervene and make a way for this to be dealt with peacefully. I think everyone's situation really grateful. So you just have to wait and see what comes up from here. But, you know, looking at the situation, Shannon, this is nothing new to your organization. You said something to me very interesting before you came on, said earlier on, that you're looking at the countless statements being made on Facebook. And there were many in support. And ironically, there were many that were not in support. Did this surprise you?
No, it did not surprise me, Sheldon. Because we have a society that does a lot of victim blaming. And no one truly likes to take responsibility for consequences, actions, and behaviors, especially when they are negative. And we need to have a responsible society. We also need to have a society that does not continually blame the victim, which places the victim in a position where, okay, you're afraid to break your silence because of one of the abuser and then fear of what society will do and say to you.
Now, I keep making the point, and it is something that I'm very passionate about. There's something we call collective responsibility. And as a nation, we don't understand that. We look at everything through a peephole, and we don't see the broader picture. Because I, for one, would say, yes, women should speak out. Then what? Because now you have, when they speak out, what avenues are in place to help protect them when they speak out? What avenues are in place when you speak out against a man who may have some sort of authority somewhere and nothing is done? Or when family turns their back on you? Or the NGOs may be limited in how much they can do. So there's a myriad of problems why sometimes they don't speak out. Now, there are those cases where some women could speak out and they choose not to. That's different. But there are those who want to. So where do you go from here? Why has it been so challenging to get that connectivity going? Because it's not new. I've been dealing with this. Ask Dr. Dan Douglas. We've touched this topic numerous times.
You know, one of the main things, Sheldon, is education on the subject of domestic violence and abuse. Even though we're in 2014, people behave as though they're in 300 BC or 1620. And that level of education and literacy, which should be rampant throughout the nation, is not. And we have been championing for years for preventive education and intervention strategies and programs where at a national level, where individuals will gain the knowledge and the understanding, not just from brochures, but from actual interactive sessions and workshops. So we need to have, because where there is no education and where there is illiteracy, you would always find chaos and confusion. And we need to move past that system of blaming and saying, okay, she looked for that, why she didn't say something longer, why she stayed in that situation so long? It's because she behaving bad, it's because he doing this or he doing that, that is why this happened. You know, and I just would like to say, even in regards to police officers, we have a lot of police officers who go beyond the call of duty.
Of course. No.
Right? And they must be commended, but we also cannot negate the fact and the reality. The evidence shows that you also have a majority of police officers who are inept in their duties when coming to domestic violence and abuse. And you cannot knock somebody and say, well, it's because it's a police. No, you have the good and you have the bad, but you cannot, you praise the good, but you also have to speak about the problems that is also existent in the system.
And rebuke what is being done by the bad. Now, we have a situation in this country where, and I want to take from the broader angle of not just parents but adults, where we know this young woman, in hindsight, she started going through this as a child. Let's get that
12 years
as a child. So that understanding about what's going on, parents not around, parents died, parents died, lost, need, and then you have this quote-unquote adult taking advantage. Now, we see a lot of young people falling victim to different things in society, like what happened to her, because the adults around us they act more like children.
Yes.
So now you have the children being forced now to act as adults.
They take up the adult role.
Because the adults. Are we living in a topsy-turvy country? Because people might find that I bash parents a lot, but I'll tell you why. It's not a matter of bashing them, it's a matter of waking up. Because they made the point today about young people fighting in cars and the police should deal them as adults. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have some responsibility to shoulder, but the parents have more. If the parents, I know some parents will go to school and say, never my child.
Yes.
You know, and they will dance down, they will go down to the end, not my child. So, are we living in a society where as adults we are really not taking responsibility for who we are and the role we play in molding young people?
Yes, Sheldon. You know, I'll just give this incident today and then I'll continue.
Sure.
While I'm waiting on transportation to come up to the studio, there was this mother who was actually cuffing her child in her back, and the child is around 4 years old. I looked around, and just as I was about to say something, a gentleman took up the issue and he said, Miss Lady, you can speak to the child, don't hit her like that. And immediately, without even thinking, she started to use some explicits from here to Togo. And said, well, if you don't want me to deal with her, you take her and carry her home and see about her. And this is the society where we are living in, where parents are not willing, one, to accept criticism, whether it's constructive criticism. They're not willing to take responsibility to understand what is proper parenting. And a child does not born bad. You know, people, the child is a bad child. No child comes out of the womb bad.
There are those who will see that young woman and say, automatically, she actually tried, but
she's a bad woman. Yeah.
That's what they were saying, you know. She bad, not knowing the history.
Yeah, and the children are trained in the environment. However, that parent or the environment shapes that child will be molded and grow into the environment. So the family has a pivotal role to play, the parents have a pivotal role to play, and they need to accept responsibility. Stop blaming the teacher at school, stop blaming the government, stop blaming the police, but take up your responsibility as a parent, a proactive responsibility. If you don't know, go and learn.
That's the thing, because we're not sitting out again. Sometimes when a parent takes out their aggression on a child, it could be their own personal demons that they're wrestling with, then seek help.
Yes.
Or even if there are other adults around you, if you know the parent is too weak, you try to encourage them to get help. But again, I think we addressed this point on Sunrise when I hosted the show for Hansley one day. We live in a selfish society.
A selfish society.
Are we getting any better? I don't know. I'm asking. It frustrates me sometimes.
I still have hope. I have hope. You know, there are days when I don't have hope, but then a glimmer of something happens that tells me, hey, you know, something can come out of all this negativity. So and what we have to realize, this young lady was just 12 years old. A 12-year-old child is not ready for a sexual relationship. Right. Is not ready for a relationship to be a wife.
And a mother.
And a mother, to be ironing clothes and cooking food, not going to school, not being able to socialize. And the thing is, she had to lie for a period of time saying that the guy she is married to now was her brother.
How old was, how old was he when he met her when she was 12? How old?
He was 17 years at the time.
So she was a teenager.
Yeah, he was a teenager. She was going to primary school. He was actually an OJT trainee. He was not a police officer at the time. He was an OJT trainee in the school. And being in the school as an OJT trainee, this is a young girl who lost the only stable person in her life, which was her father at the time. Her mother was on drugs. Well, the mother passed away now. So the mother was doing any and everything to get money to buy drugs. Right? And the grandmother was not fully capable to raise and to take care of this child. So when you have a child in such a emotional situation, and a young man, you know, showing her comfort, showing her love, telling her nice things, you're beautiful, you're nice, carrying her lunch, you know, lunch to her, she will gravitate.
She would embrace it.
She will gravitate, and if he says, okay, you can come by me and stay or whatever, she will run to that. So you can't blame a 12-year-old child.
What were some of the negative comments that you saw on Facebook or that you were told?
Okay, when I was told about the negative comments, it was things like she looked for that, you know, similar things. She bad, but why wasn't she in her mother's house? You know, without understanding the story, people love to just jump and make comments, and I say they just air foul.
Oh my goodness.
And you know, they're always bashing the police and you know, they overreacting about the situation. I tell people one case of domestic violence and abuse is one too much. One case of child abuse is one too much. And whereas, yes, women are more vocal when they come out and speak about the abuse, you also have men who are abused, yes. And we champion for both areas. We are not biased to women alone. We champion for both male and female in regards to domestic violence and abuse. But when something has happened, you cannot look at a black wall and say it's white or it's pink. You have to sit down and look at it.
As they call us,
and then look at solutions to deal with the problem.
Now, we know the government has been moving ahead with different proposals to take before cabinet to address not just domestic dispute abuse in terms of husband and wife, man and woman, or even child abuse. Are you more at ease or confident in things that I'm sure you would have been involved in some of the discussions as well? Are you a little more at ease that they're moving in the right direction in terms of assisting? Again, the government has one role to play, so we can't put everything on them. But in terms of the role that they are playing, are you satisfied thus far?
Okay, Sheldon, Trinidad and Tobago have great laws in regards to domestic violence, child abuse. Some of the laws need some revising, but we have great laws compared to other countries in the world. The implementation of the laws is one thing, because you can have the laws tabled on the books, but there is no overseeing body to govern the implementation of the laws, to govern that police officers do exactly what they're supposed to do, the medical fraternity do what they're supposed to do. When a 12-year-old or 13-year-old goes to the hospital and is pregnant, then you must report that. You can't just let it slide by. You know, and so we have good laws. I am a bit comfortable with what the government is doing, yet still there's so much more need to be done. We need shelters. We have women who call us almost every day in regards to want to leave the domestic violence situations. We have the few shelters in Trinidad and Tobago are bursting at their seams. Right? Some of the shelters will take the mother, but they will not take the children. So you place that mother now in a situation of wondering, okay, what to do? And then that mother say, okay, let me go back and take the legs. The children will get big.
It goes back to the protection, like this gentleman who is now facing a double murder charge.
Yes.
Devin Bartholomew.
Yeah.
Killed his, I have to say, his ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Because she broke up with him.
Yes.
Went back home, and he walked in there, killed her nephew, shot up the place, injured two of her relatives. So what do we say in that situation? Because again, she went to a place where she felt safe because maybe there was nowhere else for her to go. So how do we protect women who are trying? Now she's dead.
And the sad thing again, Sheldon, when I read the comments on that story that was surfacing on social media.
So they blame her too in that situation?
Yeah, they blame the victim also.
What did they say?
You know, and you know, people were saying, once again, they showed images of her, whether being at parties or whatever, and people saying, but look how she dressed, you know, she had to be a bad woman. The man wouldn't just jump and kill a woman just so. It had to be something. She pushed the man to it. You know, so there's this culture, once again, in society of blaming a victim of a crime, which is terrible, and we need to address that. We need to get that out of the way.
So they're saying she asked to be killed. She
asked to be killed. So basically what society is saying to victims of abuse is hush, stay in the situation, take the
nonsense and shut up.
And pray that you die from the licks so you would be free. You know, so we're in a situation that is fastly approaching a crisis, and something needs to be done at a national level, a collaborative effort.
We live in such an insensitive society at times, and I recall we will be raising awareness on different stories of people who need help, and people will call and throw sarcastic remarks about I ain't gonna pull out no money until I see you pull out some. You know, and when we give willingly. And I don't know why it's so difficult. I really don't understand why it's so difficult just to lend a helping hand. Nobody's asking you to mind anybody. You know?
Yes.
It's just giving a helping hand. And I said, when you in the same hand that you give, you teach, and you help someone grow. People don't even want to do that anymore.
Yeah, and we've been on a call. Hansley have called on numerous occasions for people to come forward to help. You need houses where you can house women when they go to the station. That's the next thing frustrating police officers, because when victims go to the station at 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning,
nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go. They can't keep them in the police station, right? So you need places where you can house victims. We have government who I don't know if the buildings belong to NHA, HDC, or whoever is the governing body, but you have buildings where they have started to erect them, and 10, 15 years these buildings are just there until bandits Piper's taking all the fittings.
Well, I guess the bandits needs are more important than battle women.
Yeah, give organizations this building, we'll do some fundraising and you have a place to house women, you know, because even if the woman go to a shelter, she's there for 6 weeks or she's there for 3 months. When she has to leave, where does she go from there? There's no long-term thing in place where victims can have a place to stay for a period of time, if it's 1 year or 2 years, to get themselves together and their children. So you automatically just have this cycle of abuse continuing in society.
People look at other individuals and they don't know the story.
That is it.
They don't know the history. You know, and that is a problem, because as much as you watch the young woman who got killed and say, if it was in parties or whatever, okay, fine. Maybe there are things about her life that many may have found that not to be the right thing, but we all have things about our lives that we don't like.
Right.
Some of us just choose to face our demons, while others choose to run from it. So if you choose to run from yours, don't condemn someone if they're trying to face it.
And you know, Sheldon, what people don't understand is that a woman or even a man who goes through domestic violence and abuse, they mask their situations by using other things. So someone will mask that by going to party. They will mask that by being the most vocalized person in a group of friends. They will mask it by being the joke, the clown of the party, or the clown of the among the friends. So they will mask it by the one who is always in front. You know, so people mask being abused in different ways.
One thing I've told people, and people know this is very public now, and I can say it openly here. When you see people, not everyone, but there are many people, when you see them drinking, smoking, liming, partying, many times it's not because they necessarily want to be there. No, they're just looking for an escape. I was a drinker. I went publicly about my drinking habits, and I don't drink anymore. And I told people that it wasn't for God himself. But the thing is, I was strong enough to get to a place, but I also had a good support. There are some who don't. And there are some who are also not strong enough to say, listen, I need help. I was. The point is, you don't know what people are going through. So if it is you're not willing to help, my thing is hush.
Yes.
I get really personal at one. If you don't want to help someone in need and you only want to criticize, my thing is hush. Because again, you may see any party, but you don't know her story.
That is it.
Yeah, sorry, just...
You know, there's so much. You know, a few weeks ago we had to do a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce in Port of Spain, and we were showing the correlation of child abuse and crime, because there's so many correlations with domestic violence, with child abuse, that people just see the results and they don't go to the root cause of the problem of the situation. And if we would stop as a society from just dealing with the fruits and deal with the roots, then you would realize that after a period of time, the tree will start to bring forth better fruits.
Amen. True. Before we close, let's go back to the young woman.
Yes.
In terms of information, those who want to help, what's the situation now? And 1 minute or less, the situation now, where is she and how we can contact you to assist her in any way? Okay,
this morning she had to go to the Cunupia police station. We're still waiting on word in regards to charges, but what we got today thus far, it may look as though, you know, she may not be charged. So we're praying that that would maintain. We're also working with some psychologists to give her some therapy and so forth. But she's in need of a place to stay. She has no place to stay. So last night she had to stay by one of our fellow advocates and so forth, and she has no family. And that's sad, because there's no proper family structure to give her that support. You know, she has 2 sisters, but they're just away from it because they don't want to get involved, and they're all also going through their own traumas of childhood challenges and everything. right? So basically what she needs now is a place to stay where she can have her children and also continue her training with CCC.
All right, and she has, it's a 3-year-old.
A 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-month.
And how can they reach you?
They can reach me at 798-6185.
798-6185. Sheldon, always a pleasure.
Yes, same here, Sheldon.
Thank you so very much for joining us. And we're gonna do our best to get help for her. Yes. We're gonna share the people. I'm gonna make some calls, and we're gonna have some good news for her next week. I guarantee that. Let's, of course, next we have our 7 o'clock newscast this evening with Bhavita Gopaljan right here on Win TV. Have a blessed weekend. Take care and God bless.